Meet Hyun Wu, an ordinary guy thrust into an extraordinary situation that would define his entire existence. In a world where mysterious towers appeared overnight, promising incredible power to those brave enough to climb them, Kim entered what seemed like the ultimate training ground. The tutorial tower stood as humanity's gateway to supernatural abilities, where aspiring hunters could gain the strength needed to face apocalyptic threats beyond its walls. Initially, Kim's journey felt like living inside the greatest adventure game ever created. Each floor presented unique challenges that pushed his limits in ways he never imagined possible. The early battles were intoxicating rushes of adrenaline as he faced towering monsters with nothing but determination and basic equipment. Every victory felt monumental, every new skill learned was a revelation, and every level conquered brought him closer to the superhuman abilities he desperately craved. The tutorial system guided him through combat fundamentals, teaching him sword techniques that transformed clumsy swings into precise strikes. Magic spells that once seemed impossible became second nature as he progressed through increasingly complex scenarios. Boss battles demanded strategic thinking, forcing him to analyze attack patterns, exploit weaknesses, and adapt his approach with each attempt. The satisfaction of finally defeating a seemingly impossible opponent after countless failures was unlike anything he had experienced in his mundane previous life. Kim threw himself completely into this new existence, spending every waking moment honing his abilities. The tower's diverse environments kept him constantly engaged, from scorching volcanic chambers where he battled fire elementals to frozen wastelands inhabited by ice giants. Each biome required different tactics and equipment, ensuring that complacency never settled in during those exhilarating early months. His growth was remarkable by any standard. What started as desperate flailing against weak goblins evolved into masterful combat against legendary creatures. The tutorial's difficulty curve was perfectly calibrated, always presenting challenges that seemed just beyond his current capabilities, while remaining theoretically achievable with enough effort and creativity. Kim felt himself becoming something greater with each passing day. But perfection has its own cruel trap waiting in the shadows. After his 100th completion of the tower, something fundamental shifted in Kim's experience. The monsters that once terrified him now felt like familiar acquaintances following predictable scripts. The boss on floor 50, a massive dragon that had once taken him months to defeat, now fell within minutes, using strategies he could execute blindfolded. Victory became mechanical, stripped of the emotional highs that had originally driven him forward. The tutorial's teaching moments transformed into tedious repetition. Skills he had once struggled to master, now activated without conscious thought. Combat scenarios that previously demanded intense concentration became mindless routines he could complete while mentally planning his next meal. The very system designed to challenge and improve him had become a prison of predictability. Desperate to recapture that original spark, Kim began mentoring newcomers who arrived at the tower. Teaching others provided temporary purpose as he watched their eyes light up with the same wonder he had once felt. Seeing fresh hunters experience their first victories through his guidance reminded him why he had fallen in love with this place originally. But even this noble pursuit couldn't sustain his interest indefinitely. The newcomers eventually graduated and left for greater adventures beyond the tower walls, leaving Kim alone once again with his growing restlessness. He found himself staring at the exit more frequently, imagining the world outside where real challenges waited. After years of perfecting every aspect of the tutorial, he yearned for unpredictability, for genuine threats that couldn't be solved with memorized patterns. That yearning led to the most devastating discovery of his life. The exit door, which he had never questioned during his early eager climbs, refused to open. What should have been a simple transition to the outside world became an impossible barrier that no amount of strength or skill could overcome. The very portal that had welcomed countless other graduates remained sealed against his every attempt. Initial disbelief gave way to frantic experimentation as Kim tried everything conceivable to force his escape. He attempted brute force attacks, searched for hidden mechanisms, and even tried destroying the door entirely. Nothing worked. The barrier seemed to exist on a level beyond physical reality, immune to conventional solutions. Denial consumed him for weeks as he convinced himself this was merely another puzzle to solve. Surely the system wouldn't trap someone indefinitely without purpose or solution. But as days turned to months with no progress, denial transformed into burning rage that consumed his every thought. Kim raged against the tower itself, screaming at the walls and demanding explanations that never came. He destroyed countless practice dummies and furniture in fits of fury, only to watch them respawn with maddening consistency. The tower absorbed his anger with indifferent silence, continuing its eternal cycle regardless of his emotional turmoil. Gradually, rage evolved into something more complex and ultimately more dangerous. Kim began to see his imprisonment not as a random cruelty, but as an opportunity for growth beyond normal human limits. If he couldn't leave through conventional means, perhaps he needed to become something unprecedented first. This realization marked a turning point in his psychological journey. Rather than viewing repetition as punishment, Kim embraced it as the ultimate training regimen. Every completion became another step toward transcending his current limitations. The curse that trapped him also removed all external pressures and distractions, creating perfect conditions for unlimited improvement. Kim's prison became his dojo, and his curse became the catalyst for evolution beyond anything the tutorial's original designers had ever imagined possible. Imagine being trapped in the same nightmare for 12 long years, watching the same sunrise through prison bars, facing the same enemies day after day. But what if that nightmare became your greatest teacher? This is the extraordinary tale of Hyun Wu, whose imprisonment became a forge that shaped him into something far greater than he ever imagined. When Kim first entered that cursed tower, survival was his only goal. Clear the floors, defeat the monsters, move forward. But as months turned to years, something profound began to shift in his approach. He realized that simply completing levels wasn't enough anymore. The real challenge lay in understanding every intricate detail of combat itself. Solo runs became his obsession. While other climbers relied on teams and companions, Kim deliberately chose isolation. This wasn't just stubborn pride, it was strategic brilliance. When you have no one to rely on except yourself, you're forced to understand every mechanic, every enemy pattern, every hidden secret the tower guards jealously. He began analyzing battles like a scientist dissecting specimens, studying how creatures moved when they attacked, where their weaknesses lay hidden. But Kim understood something crucial that separated true masters from mere survivors. Physical strength without technical knowledge is useless, and technical mastery without physical capability is equally hollow. So began the most grueling training regimen imaginable. Every spare moment became dedicated to forging his body into a weapon. Strength training that pushed muscles beyond their breaking points. Agility drills that demanded split-second reactions. Endurance sessions that tested the very limits of human willpower. Kim didn't just exercise, he sculpted himself through pain and determination. Combat simulations became his meditation. Hours upon hours spent perfecting movements until they flowed like water, until his body responded to threats before his mind even processed them. He pushed himself to exhaustion repeatedly, then pushed further still. Each workout was a battle against his own limitations, each training session a step closer to physical perfection. The psychological toll was perhaps even more demanding than the physical one. Imagine facing the same challenges repeatedly, knowing that tomorrow would bring identical struggles. Boredom became his greatest enemy, threatening to erode his sanity and motivation. Kim found an ingenious solution to this crushing monotony. He began disguising himself as a non-player character, an NPC guide who would mentor newcomers entering the tower. Teaching others brought unexpected joy, watching fresh faces discover abilities they never knew they possessed. But this temporary relief also highlighted his own stagnation. The cruel reality that while he helped others progress, he remained trapped in endless repetition. Yet even this setback became fuel for his growth. Kim continued refining his techniques despite the repetition, finding new nuances in familiar battles, discovering subtle improvements in movements he'd performed thousands of times before. Years of dedicated practice culminated in something extraordinary. Kim achieved what few ever reach, true mastery of combat. His understanding transcended mere technique. He could read the rhythm of any battle, sensing the ebb and flow of conflict like a conductor feels music. Timing became instinctive. Movement patterns revealed themselves before enemies even began moving. Complex maneuvers that once required intense concentration now flowed effortlessly from his body. He had internalized combat to such a degree that fighting became as natural as breathing. But perhaps most importantly, Kim realized that mastery isn't a destination you reach and then rest at. It's a continuous journey of refinement, always reaching for the next level of understanding. Then, after 12 years of unimaginable dedication, something miraculous happened. A notification appeared that changed everything. You have broken the loop. The emotions that flooded through Kim were overwhelming. Relief that his imprisonment was finally ending. Joy at the validation that his efforts hadn't been wasted. Triumph at overcoming what seemed impossible. 12 years of sacrifice and determination had finally paid off. For his final run through the tower, Kim approached it with renewed intensity. This wasn't just another clear, it was a celebration of everything he had become. Every movement was perfect, every decision flawless. He moved through challenges that once seemed insurmountable with the confidence of someone who had truly mastered his craft. When Kim finally emerged from that tower, he wasn't the same person who had entered 12 years earlier. Prison had transformed him from a desperate survivor into a master warrior. His body was a weapon honed through countless hours of training. His mind was sharp as a blade from years of strategic thinking. Most importantly, his spirit was unbreakable, forged in the fires of repetition and determination. Kim Hyun Woo's story teaches us that mastery requires more than talent or luck. It demands unwavering dedication, the willingness to face monotony without losing focus, and the understanding that true strength comes from combining physical capability with mental acuity. Sometimes our greatest limitations become our most powerful teachers. The Hunter Evaluation Test represents the ultimate gateway for aspiring warriors seeking to join prestigious guilds. This comprehensive examination pushes candidates to their absolute limits, testing every aspect of combat prowess, strategic thinking, teamwork coordination, and adaptability under extreme pressure. For most participants, this grueling assessment represents the culmination of years of preparation and training. When Kim Hyun Woo arrives at the testing facility, his demeanor immediately sets him apart from the sea of anxious faces surrounding him. While nervous newcomers fidget with their equipment and exchange worried glances, Kim displays an almost casual confidence that borders on indifference. His relaxed posture and calm expression suggest someone attending a routine appointment rather than a career-defining examination. The reunion with former teammates and guild leaders creates an interesting dynamic. These familiar faces recognize something different about Kim, though they cannot quite articulate what has changed. His presence carries an unspoken authority that was absent before his mysterious 12-year disappearance from active duty. The first major challenge confronts participants with a sprawling labyrinth that seems to defy conventional logic. Massive walls shift and reconfigure without warning, while hidden traps lie waiting beneath seemingly innocent floor panels. A merciless countdown timer adds psychological pressure, transforming rational decision-making into frantic scrambling for most candidates. Panic spreads like wildfire through the maze as hunters desperately search for exits that may no longer exist. Teams fragment under pressure, with members abandoning coordinated strategies in favor of individual survival instincts. The cacophony of shouting voices and clanging metal creates an atmosphere of barely controlled chaos. Kim approaches this challenge with methodical precision that contrasts sharply with the surrounding pandemonium. Instead of rushing forward blindly, he takes precious seconds to observe pattern formations in the wall movements. His keen analytical mind processes the underlying logic governing the labyrinth's behavior, identifying rhythms and sequences that others miss entirely. Moving with deliberate purpose, Kim guides his team through treacherous passages with surgical accuracy. His route selection appears almost supernatural in its efficiency, consistently avoiding triggered traps that ensnare less observant groups. When teammates question his unconventional path choices, his quiet confidence reassures them, to follow without hesitation. The final obstacle presents the ultimate test of timing and coordination. Massive stone barriers begin closing with increasing speed, threatening to crush anyone caught between their crushing weight. While other teams scramble desperately, Kim maintains perfect composure, calculating precise entry points and movement sequences. His flawless execution leads his team through the rapidly narrowing gap with milliseconds to spare, emerging triumphantly, while others remain trapped behind. The second challenge transports participants into an arena where waves of increasingly formidable monsters assault coordinated teams. Early rounds feature relatively manageable creatures that serve primarily as warm-up exercises. However, each subsequent wave introduces deadlier opponents with enhanced abilities and more sophisticated attack patterns. The final wave unleashes a colossal boss monster whose presence alone reduces seasoned hunters to trembling uncertainty. Its massive frame dominates the arena floor, while razor-sharp claws and devastating magical attacks create zones of absolute danger. Most teams struggle desperately to maintain basic formation, integrity as chaos engulfs their carefully planned strategies. Kim remains an island of tranquility amid this storm of violence and confusion. His 12 years of accumulated experience manifest in every calculated movement and tactical decision. Where others see overwhelming threat, Kim identifies exploitable weaknesses and strategic opportunities that lesser hunters overlook entirely. His orchestration of the battle resembles a master conductor directing a complex symphony. Teammates receive precise instructions delivered with calm authority that cuts through battlefield noise and confusion. Kim positions each team member to maximize their individual strengths while minimizing exposure to the monster's devastating attacks. The boss creature's apparent invincibility crumbles under Kim's systematic approach. He identifies behavioral patterns in its attack sequences, exploiting brief vulnerability windows that appear between its most destructive abilities. His precise timing and flawless execution create openings that his teammates can capitalize upon with devastating effectiveness. The climactic moment arrives when Kim delivers the decisive blow with surgical precision. The massive creature collapses amid thunderous applause from spectators who witness something approaching perfection in combat execution. His performance creates immediate and lasting impact throughout the hunting community. Guild leaders exchange urgent whispers about recruitment opportunities, while spectators document every moment through social media platforms. The explosive public reaction transforms Kim's name into a symbol of excellence and capability. Within hours, his demonstration becomes viral content spreading across digital networks. Memes celebrating his achievements flood popular platforms, while commentary videos analyze his techniques frame by frame. The hunting community recognizes the emergence of someone truly exceptional, marking Kim's definitive return to prominence and establishing his reputation as an unstoppable force. Hyun Wu's ascent in the hunter world wasn't just about defeating monsters in dungeons. As his reputation grew, he found himself at the center of political machinations that would test not only his combat abilities, but his character and resolve. Success brought unexpected consequences. Guild recruitment offers flooded in daily, each promising wealth, resources, and protection. Kim carefully weighed each opportunity, understanding that choosing the wrong alliance could define his entire career. Some guilds offered genuine partnerships, while others clearly viewed him as a trophy to be acquired. Among these suitors, one organization stood out for all the wrong reasons. The Ares Guild had built their reputation through aggressive expansion and ruthless tactics. They viewed the hunter world as territory to be conquered, not a community to be strengthened. Their leadership saw Kim as both a valuable asset and a potential threat to their dominance. When Kim showed reluctance to immediately accept their offers, Ares Guild shifted strategies. They launched a systematic intimidation campaign designed to isolate him and force his compliance. Rumors began circulating about Kim's supposed arrogance and unreliability. Mysterious ambushes started targeting hunters known to associate with him. His allies found themselves facing unexpected challenges in their own guild activities. The pressure culminated in an ultimatum delivered through intermediaries. Join Ares Guild immediately, or face the full weight of their displeasure. The message was clear. They would make his life impossible until he surrendered. Kim's response surprised everyone who expected either immediate capitulation or reckless defiance. Instead, he chose measured resistance. Rather than engaging in public confrontations or responding to provocations, he focused on what he did best: improving his skills and building genuine relationships with fellow hunters. His composed approach inspired others. Hunters who had remained neutral began openly supporting him, impressed by his refusal to be intimidated. Kim organized informal meetings where he emphasized unity and mutual support against bullying tactics. He never directly attacked Ares Guild, but his message resonated throughout the community. Word spread that Kim was strengthening alliances and preparing for whatever came next. His methodical approach to conflict resolution became as legendary as his dungeon-clearing abilities. He understood that this confrontation would set precedents for how independent hunters could resist guild pressure. The inevitable showdown arrived on a crisp morning that seemed charged with anticipation. Representatives from multiple guilds gathered to witness what many predicted would be Kim's final stand. Ares Guild arrived in force, confident that overwhelming numbers would secure quick victory. Kim refused to back down, despite facing superior numbers and resources. When negotiations collapsed and battle erupted, he demonstrated why his reputation extended beyond simple combat prowess. He coordinated his allies with tactical precision, turning their smaller numbers into an advantage through superior positioning and communication. The battle showcased Kim's strategic mind as much as his individual strength. He identified weaknesses in Ares Guild's formation and exploited their overconfidence. Their own aggressive tactics became liabilities as Kim's forces used mobility and coordination to counter brute force approaches. Victory came at significant cost, but it sent shockwaves throughout the hunter community. Ares Guild's reputation for invincibility crumbled, and their intimidation tactics lost effectiveness. Independent hunters gained confidence, knowing that organized resistance was possible. However, Kim's greatest challenge still awaited. Mushin, the legendary top-ranked hunter, requested a private battle. Unlike the political confrontation with Ares Guild, this represented pure martial testing between warriors. Mushin's reputation was built on decades of unmatched performance. His speed seemed to bend reality, his precision eliminated wasted movement, and his technique reflected perfect understanding of combat principles. Watching him fight was like observing poetry in motion. The battle pushed Kim beyond his established limits. Mushin's assault was relentless and seemingly impossible to counter. Kim struggled to maintain defensive positioning while seeking opportunities for counterattack. Every exchange demonstrated the vast gap in their experience and refinement. But Kim's greatest strength had always been adaptation. Even while taking punishment, he analyzed Mushin's patterns and identified subtle rhythms in his legendary technique. Mid-battle, Kim adjusted his strategy and attempted something unprecedented. His surprise counterattack caught even Mushin off guard. For one stunning moment, the legendary hunter's perfect defense was breached. The crowd witnessed something they thought impossible. Someone landing a clean hit against the seemingly untouchable champion. Kim ultimately lost the battle, but victory wasn't the point. The experience provided invaluable lessons about high-level combat that no amount of dungeon clearing could teach. Mushin's respect and acknowledgement meant more than any guild contract or political victory. This battle elevated Kim's reputation to new heights. He had proven capable of competing with the absolute elite while maintaining his independence and principles. The hunter community recognized him as a serious contender who would shape the field's future through both strength and character. Hyun Wu's transformation from a desperate climber trapped in a death game to a legendary hunter represents far more than personal triumph. His greatest achievement lies not in the monsters he defeated or the levels he gained, but in how he reshaped the very foundations of the hunting world itself. When Kim first encountered the Imperial Guild, he entered an environment steeped in centuries of tradition. This wasn't just any organization. It stood as one of the most prestigious guilds in existence, where power flowed through carefully constructed hierarchies and unspoken rules. The guild operated on a simple principle. Only the strongest deserved recognition, and weakness meant irrelevance. Competition wasn't just encouraged, it was the lifeblood of the organization. In this cutthroat atmosphere, hunters viewed each other as rivals rather than allies. Information became currency, closely guarded and rarely shared. Senior members hoarded knowledge like treasures, believing that teaching others would somehow diminish their own standing. New recruits faced brutal initiation periods, sink or swim scenarios that broke more spirits than they forged champions. But Kim's arrival coincided with something remarkable. He met Miryong, a skilled hunter whose reputation was rapidly ascending through guild ranks. Unlike many of her peers, she possessed both exceptional combat abilities and an uncommon wisdom about human nature. Their initial encounters revealed a shared understanding that transcended typical guild politics. Kim and Miryong discovered they harbored identical concerns about their organization's direction. Both recognized that individual excellence, while admirable, could never match the potential of coordinated teamwork. They witnessed talented hunters burning out from constant pressure, promising newcomers abandoning their dreams after facing unnecessary cruelty, and the guild's overall effectiveness suffering from internal discord. Their relationship evolved from mutual respect into a powerful partnership. Where Kim brought strategic thinking and unwavering determination, Miryong contributed deep institutional knowledge and natural leadership charisma. Together, they began challenging established norms in subtle but persistent ways. The transformation didn't happen overnight. Traditional guild members viewed their collaborative approach with suspicion, sometimes open hostility. Veterans questioned why successful hunters would waste time helping struggling newcomers. Some accused Kim and Miryong of undermining guild hierarchy for personal gain. However, persistence gradually yielded results. They organized informal training sessions where experienced hunters shared techniques with juniors. They advocated for team-based mission assignments instead of solo glory-seeking expeditions. Most importantly, they demonstrated through their own actions that cooperation enhanced rather than diminished individual capability. The crucial test arrived during a mission that demanded unprecedented guild unity. A threat emerged that no single hunter, regardless of skill level, could handle alone. Traditional approaches had failed repeatedly, leaving the guild facing potential catastrophe. Kim and Miryong seized this moment to prove their philosophy's worth. Under their coordinated leadership, guild members who had never worked together before found themselves functioning as a seamless unit. Experienced veterans provided strategic oversight, while newer hunters contributed fresh perspectives and innovative tactics. The successful completion of this seemingly impossible mission marked a fundamental shift in guild consciousness. What followed was remarkable organizational transformation. The Imperial Guild embraced mentorship as a core value rather than viewing it as weakness. Training sessions became regular fixtures, with knowledge flowing freely between experience levels. Competition remained, but evolved from destructive rivalry into healthy motivation that elevated everyone simultaneously. This cultural revolution extended far beyond guild walls. Other organizations observed the Imperial Guild's enhanced effectiveness and began adopting similar practices. The broader hunting community gradually recognized that collaborative approaches yielded superior results to cutthroat individualism. Kim's influence reached another pinnacle during the legendary auction, an exclusive event where the hunting world's elite gathered to acquire artifacts of immense power. Here, wealth and influence determined access to weapons and equipment that could reshape entire careers. Among the evening's most coveted items was the Blade of the Ancients, a legendary sword whose history stretched back through countless generations of heroes. Kim successfully acquired this weapon alongside enchanted armor that dramatically enhanced wearer agility and reflexes. These weren't mere trophies. They represented tools capable of fundamentally altering their wielder's capabilities. Yet Kim approached these acquisitions with characteristic wisdom. He understood that possessing legendary artifacts carried profound responsibility. Rather than hoarding their power for personal advancement, he committed to using these tools in service of others. The blade and armor became instruments of mentorship, allowing him to protect those under his guidance while demonstrating advanced techniques they might someday master themselves. This approach reflected Kim's evolved understanding of true strength. He had learned that genuine mastery wasn't a destination to be reached, but a continuous journey of growth and discovery. Each challenge overcome revealed new horizons to explore, fresh skills to develop, and deeper wisdom to cultivate. Kim's philosophy emphasized that individual achievement meant nothing without the ability to lift others alongside yourself. He believed that strong communities emerged when successful members dedicated themselves to nurturing the next generation rather than jealously guarding their advantages. Today, Hyun Wu's legacy lives on through the countless hunters he inspired, the organizational cultures he helped transform, and the philosophical shifts he championed throughout the hunting community. His journey from desperate survivor to respected leader demonstrates that our greatest obstacles often become our most valuable teachers. Your own challenges, whatever they might be, contain similar potential for transformation and growth. Embrace them as opportunities rather than burdens, and remember that true victory comes not from climbing alone, but from helping others reach new heights alongside you.